Hello? Hi YouTube, how's it going? Welcome on in. Today we are going to be talking about using the terrain tool properly so you can get that nice slope when you're making your houses. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, also hit that little notification box to know when I post a video next, and enjoy the video. There's a couple things that you need to know. So this raised terrain tool, you want to pick a spot, any spot where you want to put your house or where you want to start. Just hold it down to the height that you want it at. Okay, I want my house this high. Now, with that being said, this fourth tool, Flattened Terrain. So when you use this tool, you see these lines on this. So make sure when you're using the terrain tool, make sure you're pressing G. It is grid, but the glowing grid squares shows that that area is flat. So if you have like a random hill, you'll see that though there's no grid squares on that because technically it's not flat. So you basically pick a spot. See how the grid squares are now showing up? That's because now it's flat. So that's what this fourth tool does. Once you pick a spot, once you pick a height, hold it down, drag it around until it reaches that height. Slowly, just keep going until you keep seeing all the grid squares pop up. You'll know why, because it's a lot harder to place stairs. To place stairs properly and flooring and stuff, you'll definitely want this. So now you picked a height. Okay. Now what if you want another height? These lines on the side of the mountain, pick that spot. So you'll see the middle of the circle is like basically like a cursor itself. So it basically locks onto each side, each line on this side of the mountain. So you pick the line, hold it down, and then it goes to that grid. And just make sure the grid squares pop up, because if you don't, you'll have a really tough time placing furniture, adding stairs, etc. And then you're like, oh, I want to wrap around on this side. So let me just pick another height, slowly going to the ground. This is the entryway, by the way, if I chose to do it like this. Stairs are really difficult to add in this game, because sometimes, even if you have flat grid spots, stairs do not, like, sometimes don't clip onto that height. Because if you think about the height of a stair, it has to line up to that same height. Otherwise, it'll, like, either clip into the mountain a little bit or go too high above the mountain. So you'll want to make sure to do that. And then we want another height. So then you pick a spot on the line on the mountain and do it again. To do stairs, all you have to do is just make sure that the stairs line up to both levels, which it actually worked out perfectly in this case, like so. And then let's say you wanted a pathway. And let's say this pathway goes all the way over here. You want another staircase, let's just say. I'll just copy the same one, put it here, and done. Okay, that's kind of looking funky. Part, say you want this to actually be a hill, not stairs. So what you do, I've already went over this tool, raised terrain. Raised terrain is to pick your spot, is to pick your height. Flattened terrain is to use, once you found that spot, to flatten out a big area for the house. So make sure that you always have G to double check that all your grid squares are where they are. Make sure everything is lit up with grid squares when you're doing stuff, unless you're doing a hill. What you want to do is the third tool, smooth terrain, is what you use to make your hills. So, but to do that, you can't just like make a hill all the way from up here to all the way down here, because your Sims can't walk up that, right? So you got to gradually do it by doing this, how I have the multi-level system here. Start at the top height and then drag it down slowly. So in this case, you'd be like, oh, hill, right? It smooths it out and it combines it with the other layer. And then same thing with here. Say I don't want stairs here anymore, so I want to change it to a hill. So then that way you'll hold it down and make a hill. You do lose grid squares, yes, but that's why you got to be careful. You can readjust some of it by adding some of your squares back and still have your hill intact. So you have your hill here, and you kind of want to go back to stairs again. Why not, right? You kind of want to go back to stairs again just to have that aesthetic. See, this is what I was talking about. If you don't have a specific height, and then they can clip into the hill properly. That is how you do that without messing up your stairs or your hills. So you have your stairs going up the hill, going up the stairs, going up the hill. You have another route here from the side of the house. So then you decide, okay, I want to put my house here. So let's just put like a really big area. Let's just say this is the side door or something where you just like walk down the hill, or the garage. You could just drive down the whole thing. Maybe we'll just do the flattened terrain thing again in circular. Pick a height, circle it around with your G key on, I mean. And then smoothen terrain again, and you just want to keep going and going and going for your driveway. Now let's say you want a ravine in the center. Choose the lower terrain tool. It's the same thing that applies when you're making the uppers, is that you got to pick a spot, go down how far you want, use the flattened terrain tool, go on top of that same spot and drag it at that height until it makes it that height everywhere for you. See, and then you have brown squares. Now you just have a giant piece of poo or a potato in the middle of your belt. If you actually want to like make it like super ravine-y, like, I don't think ravine is even a word. Pick a height, do your draw pool tool, and then either pick a swampy watercolor, etc. And then you have the bottom of the ravine. So it's pretty good. It's not that bad. And yeah, pretty simple tutorial actually.
Fearless.